Welcome to On the Road, a brand new series that takes you guys behind the scenes on some of the most exciting projects and events in the construction industry. I started this series while I pinpoint a date to get my stomach work done. I'm out on injury for the time being. So join me as I travel around the West Coast talking to friends of mine who just so happen to be builders, carpenters, and other industry professionals. Our first episode has us going to Encinitas, California to talk with a builder that's doing some insanely high-end homes. We're going to see what he's doing and how he got to where he is today. This video series is sponsored by Huber Engineered Woods, the makers of Advantech and ZIP system sheathing. Today we're here to talk to Dagan about why he uses ZIP system sheathing, and this very reason is reason number one. It's pouring down rain here in Encinitas, California, and this building behind me is drier than I am. The reason for that is because they're able to dry in during the framing phase rather than when the exterior finish contractor has time or the roofing contractor has time. We're going to go over some details, talk to you about what we're using with Huberwood and more. Thank you, Huberwood, for sponsoring this video. Dagan?
Yeah.
It's awesome to be here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Dagan Koffler, Dagan Design and Construction is our building company. We also have a landscape division, DDC Landscape. We're based in Encinitas, California, San Diego, North County, San Diego. And we're kind of a high-end builder. We like to do, big fun, design-driven houses. We do a lot of cool exterior spaces. We've done some, monster estates that have multiple acres and huge amounts of grass and pergolas and outdoor barbecues. And so that's sort of our niche. And this happens to be my personal home that I'm building here.
You said you bought this when? A few years back?
Bought it October 2020. So 2.5 years ago.
What was your thought process on that? Because that was right as COVID hit. That was when everybody was flipping out. We need to sell, the market's crashing, and here you are buying a huge lot.
It was just one of those time frames where no one knew what was going on. This was a unique property. I love the neighborhood. Yeah. I saw it kind of sitting a little bit. It was unusual that it didn't sell so quick, and just like a lot of signs pointed to you should really check this out. And once you start talking to the real estate agent and you get your hopes up on what you can do to this thing, and I just kind of went down the road and pulled the trigger and bought it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, let's get up here and check it out.
Yeah.
So this whole project was based around, that's your master bedroom, correct?
Master bedroom, yeah.
So everything was based around that view?
That and then southern exposure. So I wanted a big outdoor space. So that whole center section over there is actually gonna be outdoor pergola. Okay. So there's gonna be an outdoor kitchen out there. So big outdoor sort of patio.
So Dagan, talk to me a little bit about this overhang or lack of overhang here.
Yeah, it's gone currently.
As a framer, that's one of the first things I look at is what are you doing here?
So there'll be posts here, but this will all be covered. The whole idea is that when you come out the front door, there's this long sort of section. I'm gonna have benches out here, a couple pots with planters. Okay. But another reason actually is for temperature control, because when the sun sets in the summer here, it blasts all these west-facing windows. Okay. So I've been in a couple homes like this, so having that little shade structure, it's only gonna be an hour or two of direct sunlight.
But it makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
So you said that this right here, this 800 square feet, this was existing, correct?
Yep. And the front door is about where it is. It moved a little bit, but this is about the entry. So this was an 8-foot lid. So they had a drop, they had an 8-foot lid in this whole place, but I wanted to vault it, but because of it was only 2x6 or 2x4 rafters. Okay. So there's no load. I had to put some sort of collar tie or something.
Yeah, it won't hold up.
So structural originally wanted to put it at the plate line, which then dropped it to an 8-foot lid. It's not really gaining anything. So I sort of asked him what else could I do. So he ended up sandwiching 2 2x6s on the existing 2x4 rafter. And then we have a 1/2-inch bolt that connects all 3 of those, or all 4 of those together. Slid in our collar tie, nailed off the 2x6s, sandwiched both sides, and then we had to do a 1/2-inch bolt through all of it.
How long did this take to wrap up in here?
It was a while. I
was going to say, this is not a quick process.
No, this took weeks. Yeah.
It came out nice though.
Super cool. I love it. It's like
you have such a high ceiling over here that if this was dropped all the way to play, it just wouldn't look right. Yeah, it wouldn't look right.
This is going to get dropped a little. I'm actually going to use reclaimed beams to create this opening here. So this is like 26 feet. So it'll be a 26 foot, like 10 by 10.
That's awesome.
And then post, so it looks like you're entering like a different space.
Now, when it comes to designing an interior space like this, I know that you're big on design.
Yeah.
Are you designing everything that you're doing in here as well, or do you
In
work
this,
with a team?
yeah, so our company, we're kind of a hybrid.
Yeah.
We do have an in-house designer that works with us. So about half the projects, we do everything in-house, from architecture to design. And then some other bigger projects, there'll be a whole other team of architects and designers.
Wow.
But this one was like my baby, and I really wanted to just do every inch of it. So it was just my stamp.
What do we have here and what do we have here?
So behind us over there is garage. Then it comes in a pretty large, you'll get a kick out of this, what I'm gonna do. This is the mud room, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a barrel ceiling here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tile the whole thing. So this whole thing will have an arch to it and it'll be all tiled. And this is our mud room. It's all kind of built around this Dutch door, which is just awesome. Come check it out. I mean, I don't know how much the thing weighs. It's got to weigh 300-400 pounds, these two little panels. But I love this thing, and that imagery of having this cool barrel ceiling with this door is just sweet. Yeah, this is just an element, like, I just thought it'd be cool because it's such a high ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, I could just do it really vaulted, but why not? Like, the symmetry of it worked out perfectly.
Go crazy. That door is centered perfect.
Centered perfect, and it's
That's
centered on this
awesome.
window here. So it crosses it.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? This is a pantry. I have 3 kids, so this is all meant to be like very family friendly.
Yeah.
Coming from the garage, straight in the kitchen, coming
Snacks
from sports,
in here.
snacks,
Everything's accessible.
sports equipment, whatever. You know, we got a lot of space for all that.
Yeah.
And then straight into the kitchen. And the kitchen's big. I mean, it takes up this whole quadrant.
So this is all going to remain open over to the staircase into the
It's
back.
all open. This we're actually calling the library, because from this corner to that corner is all floor-to-ceiling bookshelves.
Oh, wow.
So from here to there, the whole idea is there's a sitting chair in the middle.
Big on reading?
Huh?
You big on reading?
When I have time, I don't
Yeah.
read a lot, but I read a lot of fine home building.
There we go. That counts, right?
So yeah, this is library, and then this is really like guest suite, but this is powder room. Again, I'm doing some crazy stuff in here. I'm gonna curve all the corners.
I believe it.
Yeah, so it's actually gonna be vertical tiles to the corner, and then vertical slatted wood on the flats. So every inch of the wall will have some sort of wall treatment.
That's
It's
awesome.
gonna be pretty rad. So this acts as like a second master. So if I ever, died old here or whatever, or sold it, there's a second master. It's got double vanity, bathtub, and a walk-in shower. So there's an ADA shower.
That's nice. Gives you options.
Tons of options, and even if I just have an in-law or someone else, or it's an awesome guest room.
Yeah.
But it also gives flexibility, and it's a good marketability deal.
Rather than having just a small bathroom, hardly anything
Correct.
down here.
Yeah,
That's
it's a good
nice.
sized room. It's not oversized, but even long term, that could be turned into a little kitchenette. So this could be like fully self-sufficient. So I kind of thought about the size of that as I was doing this.
What do we got upstairs? That was one of the first things I noticed is that deck. That's the master bedroom up there,
is.
correct? Yeah, you have an awesome view from
Yeah.
up there.
That was the big selling point of going 2 floors was that view.
I have to ask you because I know you're doing something crazy. What's your handrail detail?
It's going to be, so I haven't actually fully decided. I have a few designs I'm looking at, but it's going to be some sort of metal.
Yeah.
It's going to be black metal. And I might do something trippy as far as like the wood handrail on top. But it's going to be some sort of black metal. But it's kind of cool because it wraps all the way around and it comes all the way. And then it's gonna be
Yeah,
fully
that's what I was
exposed at
saying.
the
It's got a
landing.
perfect detail to come
Yeah.
down and around.
It looks almost like a spiral because it wraps both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
8, 5, and 3.
They're old enough to go up and down the stairs.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Made me super nervous though when they were a little younger.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I love these grids on these windows. These are nice.
Yeah, these are it's called their Urban Series, and you can see you can get a 1/2 inch on the mullion. Super thin. It's like the smallest one you can get.
Yeah. It's basic, it's clean, but it looks great.
Yeah, so bed walls here, and I did it actually, you can see it's mimicking windows.
Yeah.
So if I ever did want to change bed wall for
Flip it
viewpoints, I always like, just as a general rule of thumb, to walk into beds. So that's why this was designated bed wall, but we have options. And then
waking up, sitting up, and looking right out to the ocean is not necessarily a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'd just put it on wheels and roll it back and forth, change it depending on what the weather's like.
When I grew up here, like no one had AC, but now it's super common. So it does get a little bit more humid, a little bit hotter. You know, I'm hoping that this home is going to be way more comfortable than most standard homes.
With what are you doing for insulation on inside?
So it's all rock wool insulation. So I have 2x6 walls everywhere, so it'll be R19. And then they have a product called Safe Sound, so it's sound deadening on the inside. So I'm doing all interior walls. We'll probably get up to R40 something in the lid. So I'm going for comfort.
Once you have inside done, that outside done before your exterior finish, this thing's going to be pretty much soundproof, right?
Very soundproof, yeah. Low noise, all dual glaze on the outside. And you saw what I used on, TGIs, 1.1/8" on the subfloor, because I didn't want any sound transfer.
Was that per engineer's request, or was that?
I beefed everything up.
I wanted to talk about that a bit because you do have Advantech down. We've been through ridiculous rains.
Yeah.
I have a project that's sitting right now. It's about to get closed up, but I believe you've been exposed here longer than I have there.
Yeah, we've had this up for a while.
We went through one good rain. I'm using CDX, and it went to crap.
Yeah.
It's swelling up. I'm going to be sanding like crazy.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. But then you look at a product like this. I've done many Advantech floor systems, and I've never once had an issue. A few spots where you're sanding down, but
pretty minimal.
Nothing crazy.
This had pools for days, and we would just be, brushing it off in the morning, but sometimes we'd sit here for 12 hours, 15 hours.
So what was that like for install with your framers? I mean, this was all in-house framing, correct?
Yeah.
Was it a big switch for them in order to use the Advantech glue and the Advantech sheathing, or was it fairly?
No, just the weight of these things. You see a lot of people because they're so heavy.
1/8", yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah, but no, I mean the process is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You glue it down, same thing you do. The glue's kind of a trip though, because you got to get your quantities right.
Yeah.
Because it squirts out and you think
pressure activated. Yeah.
So it didn't take very long though. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it makes a big boom when it slams down.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
No, I've been told that a million times. Don't let the sheet slam down.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? You want to just lean it over as far as you can before you do that.
We'd have two guys. One guy would hold it halfway, and then the other guy on the other side.
So are you screwing it all? I see.
Yeah. Screwed everything.
So you're not nailing any floors that you're doing?
No.
Did you find that you were getting squeaks with nails?
Yes and no. I mean, it takes a while for that to show itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll hear it over time.
So this is more of just a preventative for future.
We don't do a lot of raised foundation, so a lot of time we're doing it on a slab.
Yeah.
But second floors, you will hear that.
Smallest little nail with the slightest little movement.
Or if you have any movement in your subfloor and that starts to bevel or give a little pocket, you're going to hear that soon over time.
So Dagan, explain to me, you've got they're smaller overhangs, and one thing that I noticed is that the zip tape actually runs up and then onto the soffit and on all of your lookouts as well. My first thought was you guys were gonna have to cut that back and paint up there, but you have a different plan in mind. What do you have here?
So we're gonna basically be building off the wall so much that all of that's gonna get buried.
You're not gonna see any of this.
You won't see any of that, yeah.
This all remains out here though, but what you're saying is that this is gonna build out so far, you won't be able to see any of that tape.
It's only about 2.5 inches out there. We have 1.5 inch rock wool. Then we have our lath, and we have another about 7/8 of mud. And then I have another mortar on. So we're gonna be probably close to 3.5 inches off the wall.
Oh, wow. That's gonna give an awesome depth on your garage door there.
So everything's gonna have a return. All the windows and doors have a nice return. The garage door is gonna have a sort of deep cavity return.
So it'll be the same thing on all your windows as well. They're gonna look like they're recessed.
Correct, yeah. And then on the shallow, the ends here, the reason I did it so shallow is we're about 4 inches right there.
Yeah.
So the idea is that this rock is gonna tuck right below the fascia line there. So when you see it from the profile, it should just be the profile of your fascia, and then you'll see rock that comes right below.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be a nice little
cool
detail.
Yeah.
So have you used that product before?
I have. So I did it on our office, which is kind of our trial.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a
Did
Texas limestone.
Did you do that same overhang detail on that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
That one has like a little bit of standard. It's got like 6 inches past,
Yeah.
but it's similar. It's a Texas limestone, and we do a slurry coat over it after.
Okay.
So we actually make our own mortar. It's like 3 parts gray to 1 part white, and we mix it all, and then we do all the grout joints, and then we do a slurry coat. It's like this process where you have to wipe until you get the fogging that you want.
Yeah.
So it's like a playing thing. You just play with it.
You are creative. So as far as a WRB, you're still relying on the ZIP solely. If I understand correctly,
Yeah.
I know that the building science world's a little bit different, but the WRB would still be the ZIP system sheathing, the
Yep.
ZIP system tape. This would act more as a rain screen.
Correct.
And what would this prevent? I mean, the biggest thing that people see is we have sprinklers hitting the sides of building.
Yep.
It causes moisture buildup. Most exterior finishes are a concrete material, so it's
Yep.
porous. This is going to prevent that?
Yeah, so rock wool is made of rock, so it doesn't absorb any water. So any water that potentially could get through my stucco,
Yeah.
assembly would drain straight down. And I'm making a custom weep screed because weep screeds are usually only 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
So it comes down, and I'm gonna have 3 inches of material off my wall.
Yeah.
So I'm actually having a weep screed that's gonna be 3 inches wide.
Okay.
So all of my assembly will actually be able to sit on top of the weep screed.
That's awesome.
So the whole 3 inches can actually drain.
Out here, though, in this area, though, is it seen too much?
No, it's not common at all. They're getting a little bit more as far as like using better tapes on your window flashing
Yeah.
and just assembly. But in general, they're not really going for, because our climate's so like nice. I'm trying to prove like if you build a really high, comfortable home, that you can have a comfortable home without using some sort of HVAC system all the time.
So when it comes to building a house like this, obviously the budgets on these can be massive.
Yeah.
Are things like this what people would typically cut?
Most likely, yeah, it's first thing.
They would rather get rid of the benefits that don't get seen rather than get rid of the cosmetics.
They always want us to cut a bunch of wood out so they can buy a better range. It's like, well, at some point you got to build a better house.
Yeah.
If you don't want that range, then go buy a different one.
So-
So I want to build a home. I want to build.
Is this something you plan on implementing on other projects outside of your own?
All interior, yeah, and I'm actually trying to promote it as far as an exterior because I think that's a huge thermal bridge, and I'd love to do more of that. But we use it on almost all interiors now.
So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the products that you're using out here.
Yeah,
Obviously, you've got, what is this, 1/2 inch wall sheathing?
it is.
It's a struck one panel.
Yep.
You have got multiple types of flashing going on that I can see.
Yep.
From the looks of it, you're using your traditional tape for all of your seams.
Yep.
I'm assuming you're going to do the same thing with the LTP4s up here at this connection.
LTP4, we get the I think it's the 6-inch tape on over the LTP4s.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the seams, anything that's not done is in process.
So
Yeah.
I'm noticing that you guys don't have a whole lot of perforated shear. It's a huge thing on the Central Coast. For example, we're 6 hours north of Dagan here, and perforated shear is big for us. When we have a shear wall, say from this corner of the building to the corner over there, and we have a perforation, an opening, we have to have blocking ran out on the sill and the header with CS16 strapping. And I'm noticing that you don't have any of that here.
And it usually never gets called out, yeah. It's just not a thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's something that we have to deal with, and when it comes to taping on the ZIP system, it can be a pain. You're trying to tape over strapping that's
Yeah.
32 feet long.
Yeah, even the LTP5s, it is. You have to use the taller tape material for it.
And even then, you do get a few air bubbles and stuff like
Correct.
that.
It's much harder to roll it on it because you're rolling over bumps all the time.
It's not
Yeah.
the end of the world, though.
No.
But I'm seeing you have a few different flashings going on here. We have the liquid flashing on the nails here, which we'll
Yep.
get into, but you have stretch tape for your sills, correct?
Yep.
And then you're using the traditional tape up the side,
Jams and header, yep.
across the top.
Yep.
And that's for cost efficiency, correct? Where you're not just using...
Yeah, the zip tape or the stretch tape is a little bit more expensive than the
Yeah.
traditional, and we don't really need it because it's a straight run on
Yeah.
both of those. So for the header and the jams, we just run traditional tape, and then we use the stretch just on the sill.
And we were talking about how these butterflies up here at the top can be a little overkill, but
Yeah.
it's peace of mind, right?
It's just throwing another piece of stretch over that joint on where the header meets
Yeah,
the
it's where you
jam.
don't have two lapping.
Correct.
Yeah,
It is
I
probably
get that.
overkill. I don't think I need to do it per zip.
You're eliminating an entry point, though.
Yep, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then you're doing what they call, what do they call this, ZIP 2.0?
Yeah.
I know that it's not done on this wall, but this wall that we've got back in the corner here, this
Where we
is
did all the nail
huge.
heads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing all the nail heads with the liquid flashing. And Explain to me the reason behind that. Is it a concern that you feel like water is going to get in?
You know, the biggest concern here is if it's a sheet rain. I'm not really that concerned because we had our pressure right on nail guns. It is, like you said, it's 2.0.
Yeah.
Just an extra level of security. We had the scaffolding up. They had the gun in their hand. It's a really quick thing to do once they're there.
Yeah.
So I just did it.
So this looks killer. They did a good job taping.
Yep.
The taping process is simple, right?
It's pretty simple. I mean, once you have all your seams, one guy just needs the roller and a roll of tape, and you just go.
This is obviously your personal home. Would you do the whole ZIP 2.0 on a client's home?
If we had all our nailing correct, no. I think it's unnecessary, totally. If there was any penetration, that's the hard part. If you can't really look at every nail hole, you try to, but if your nailing is pretty correct, then it's not really a concern.
Because they do call for it. If you have a shiner and you pull that nail, there's a hole there.
Yeah,
they
I think if it
call
penetrates
for you to cover
50% more on the board, then you're supposed to put a piece of tape or liquid flashing. But most of these are, just below the surface, which is fine.
And I mean, overall, even if you were to do this, how long would it take to coat these? It's not that long.
Not long.
Right?
Like it's really just like getting the access. So if you have a scaffolding and you're in the vicinity, it's pretty straightforward. So if you're going to tape the seam anyway, it's really not very long to do.
So we're seeing the liquid flashing on all of your nail heads here.
Yep.
You said that you have one more place that you're putting it, right?
On the sill here, because most tapes don't work when you try to adhere them to concrete.
Yeah.
So we use a liquid flashing. It's really not much. It comes down inch and a half, and it's basically just a bridge where your sill is exposed below the shear line and then just above there.
I'm seeing on the outside of your plate here, you have a gasket in there as well. So that was
Yep.
put down during framing.
It was during frame, it was actually tacked on, stapled on to the bottom of the sill, and then we lifted all the walls onto it.
So then what is the purpose of the liquid flashing here to the foundation?
So if there any water ever got behind my wall assembly and sheeted down, that it has no way to penetrate the sill. I've seen that many times where the sill gets wet, starts to just absorb water, especially if it's like an irrigation, constant, and then it just starts to absorb water so much that it starts to bleed into the house. It doesn't need to be much, just needs to be bridged, so it's just like an inch and above, inch and below.
Okay.
Yeah, so we come about an inch and a half on the sheathing, and then inch and a half on the concrete.
And you're going to do that all the way around the building?
All the way around the whole building.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you've got all your taping done.
Yep.
Downstairs, we're seeing you've got every nail hole flashed over. Are you worried about that up here? Is that going to get done, or are we just leaving it?
I'm actually going to put underlayment on top of this
for
the roofing. I know it's not necessary, and then
Yeah.
you can shoot right onto this. I'm going to use a synthetic underlayment on top of this anyway.
Okay.
I wasn't really worried if there's a major penetration where the nail hole looks like it's too deep.
Yeah.
We'll put a piece of tape on it or liquid flashing, but otherwise, no, we're not worried. I mean, if you have your gun pressure correct,
Yeah.
there's really not much to worry about up
Yeah,
here.
set your depth and go with it.
Yeah.
So what do we got here? This is their 12-inch flashing, correct?
Yep. So we're just using this in the valleys. I'm also going to do metal on top of this. Okay. So there'll be a metal flashing that goes on the valley. So it gets sandwiched because you've probably seen most leaks in roofs happen in valleys. Those are always like, try to do your valleys really well.
So you have multiple things going on. We talked about it a bit. You've got something going on in the front. You got something going on in the back. Well, explain that.
So basically the front is going to be an ADU. It's going to be a full traditional accessory dwelling unit, 1,200 square feet. It's going to have its own address. It's like it's going to be its own house up front.
Okay.
And in the rear, we're going to do what we classify as a guest house.
Okay.
So you can do an ADU. This property is allowed 4 structures.
Wow.
You have to call them different things just based on the zoning.
Oh, nice.
So this
Change
one's
the
gonna
name and it's okay.
change the name, the function of it, and what you can and can't do legally as far as renting usually. So this one's going to be our guest house, pool house, guest house, because I'm also going to do a pool about where the skid steer is over here. But the guest house will be in this little quadrant where I have all this sort of extra materials over here. And you can go 650 square feet on that guy. So it'll be a 1-bedroom, pretty comfortable. And that'll just be for like family and friends and
no plans to rent this out.
No plans to rent that. And that legally you're not supposed to rent that as a legal rental.
You've got the first thing I noticed when I pulled up here. This is an older structure here. You're using a remodel permit, correct?
Yeah.
So explain that a bit. New construction to remodel permit. What's the process like? Is it cheaper? Is it faster?
Both. So we're in Coastal Commission zone. So Coastal Commission is a state agency. So we have to get like 2 permissions if we want to do a house here. Okay. So if I wanted to take this whole thing down, I'd have to get what's called CDP approval, Coastal Commission approval. So that's your first step. And then you have to go to your city, municipality, and then get your whole building plan checked. And that just, it costs an exorbitant amount and years, usually, years, to get that approval. So they have these exemptions if you keep what's called 51% of your wall line. So the existing structure, if you don't change 51% of the existing wall line, then you can call it an addition remodel permit. So I added 3,200 square feet to this house, but it's still an addition remodel permit.
So what was the square footage that you left? It was small.
Like 800 square feet, 900
Really?
square feet.
And you added that to it? So it doesn't matter how big you add on to it. I mean, as long as they approve it.
If it's in FAR, lot coverage, there's all these other parameters.
Yeah.
But if it confines with all of that, then yes, you can do that.
So the permit was not only easier to get, but it was cheaper as well?
Way faster, yeah.
What can someone expect to pay for a new construction permit here in the area?
Permit?
Yeah.
I think they said the San Diego average is about 70,000 for a new construction permit.
70,000?
70,000, but a big house like this is probably north of 100.
So out here you've got, this is planned to be a rental, correct?
Yeah, so this is a full ADU, so accessory dwelling unit. California allows you to go up to 1,200 square feet.
And what do you got here?
1,200 square feet.
I could have guessed that one.
I did a separate garage. This property actually used to have a U-shaped driveway. So the city let me keep both the entry and exit points. So this side will just be dedicated to the ADU, and then the main house will have it separate. So the whole idea is that when this is done, you would think it's two separate like parcels.
But it's not split lot, correct?
Nope,
it's all on one.
Part of one.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So then I'm curious on the selling standpoint of that. If in the case you were to sell this later on, is it going to sell for less due to the fact that it's not a split lot?
If I could, subdivide and make this a separate house and then this a separate house, it probably would sell for more if I sold them differently or separate. But yeah, it's probably a little bit of a discount.
Okay.
But the laws just changed, and there actually, I think, is a path now for me to subdivide this.
Oh, wow.
There's a new law that just changed for new subdivisions.
I don't know your market too well. What does something like this rent for?
I'm gonna be able to do it pretty high end, so it's gonna be like a premium product, probably somewhere around 5,000.
Now, how many people, you're really smart. I want to give you that, first of all. I love adding things to existing properties.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way to add value.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way to make money on a property that you already own. I'm looking around, I don't see hardly anybody adding like you're doing here. Is this common here?
Kind of, yeah, because to build a new home here is super complicated.
Yeah.
To tear down a home and start from scratch, it's just really costly and lengthy in time. So most of what we do is, if they want to do a grand project, it's kind of like this. Buy a mediocre home that has a nice lot or a good location and blow it up and do a huge addition to it.
I love how open Dagan is to sharing how he's building this place and turning a simple remodel permit with an 800 square foot building to a guest house, a pool, a primary, and a rental. It's pretty awesome stuff to know. As we wrapped up day one on the road, we were invited back to Dagan's place to unwind and hang out with the guys on his crew. We all made pizzas, we had a few drinks, enjoying each other's company and sharing stories of being in this industry. It had been a busy day, meeting new people, learning the ways Dagan is building, and the plans that he has for that property we looked at. I've always been intrigued to know how people got from where they were to where they are today. And for Dagan, it started with building fences to now having more than 30 employees. Instead of going and just talking about the building itself, we're going to take you and show you the finished product. Dagan builds insanely high quality homes. We're going to go check that out, look at all the high-end finishes. He's saying we're going to be pretty amazed. So that's the plan. Let's get to it. We've got our booties on. We just pulled up at this house out here. Dagan, what are we standing at? What do we got here?
It's a big house. We did a big remodel here. We're at the final stages. So we're gonna kind of show you, this house I didn't build, unfortunately. I would have loved to, but we did a pretty large scale remodel. Got to kind of just walk through to see it all.
all the bells and whistles?
All the bells and whistles. Pretty grand, pretty beautiful, all the above.
There we go.
Yep.
Let's check it out.
This is a common setup. We did the 2 fridges, 2 column fridges. There's a fridge freezer. LaConch is the range, which is the burgundy range.
I was just about to say, I've seen some of these at the International Builders show. What's a range like this typically go for?
Around 20, I think.
Yeah, I love the finishes on it.
Duval Kitchens, which is the English brand. They make these from Perrin & Rowe, which is a Roll brand. Super beautiful. It's all living brass.
You know, Dagan, I gotta ask you, what does a window and door package look like on something like this?
So if we were to do this, this is from the existing home, but it's hard to say, but I would say probably between $500,000 to $1 million.
So I'm curious, how long did it take you in business before you were doing stuff like this? Like when you first got started, were you taking huge projects? I mean, this is multi-millions at this point, but.
When I first started, I was building fences by myself.
Really?
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
I got my license in 2011, I believe. So I've been on my own for 12 years. But probably first 3 years, I was just doing odds and ends. I was like the pergola guy for a while. I built like, I don't know, 20 pergolas in a year. Fences, I did a lot of outdoor stuff, and then I got like little remodels. And like my first 3 remodels, I think I did everything except plumbing and electrical.
So what elevated you to where you are today? What do you think
Just
sets
like one
Dagan
project
Designs
after
apart?
another. You do one good project, a friend liked it, you know, their project was a little bit bigger, and then you can get in with an architect or designer that, you know, had a big project. And then at some point, you're just, you know, if you do good work, there's a lot of people that want to work with you, and then you kind of just, you know, at this point,
One thing leads to another.
one thing leads to another, and now it's just picking and choosing the right clients, and
Who you want to work for.
it's been the hardest thing for me. It's just like is client selection. Like I told you, the project started. He wanted to expand the outdoor kitchen and just make it like he wanted a pergola and just have like more appliances and like more centralized outdoor dining. So that actually never got done. That's phase 2 now. But that was the original plan, was to expand and redo all this. And so there's plans to redo all the hardscape here. The jacuzzi is this kind of odd, like half moon shaped over here. So they really want to put the spa into the pool.
Tie them together.
Tie them together and then just redo that water feature. But there's some really cool elements out here, the original ones.
You don't realize, like you're saying, it's nice and cozy inside in each individual room. You don't realize how big this thing is until you come out here and see from there.
It's just a lot of house.
All the way over to there.
Yeah.
Now there's 2 more things here that I want to share. Dagan mentioned very early on that he owns a landscape company. Along with that, he owns an import business where they bring in high quality indoor and outdoor furniture from South America. At this point, I'm questioning what else this man can do. I have no idea how he has spare time. But let's check out these last 2 things.
We are out here. You said that we're covering, what is it, like 11,000 square feet of turf here?
Yeah, it's about that, I think.
This is another avenue that you've got going on. For the people at home watching this, the people that are wondering what in the heck got you from point A to where you're at today, what is this? How did this all start?
So we branched off the landscape division about 1.5 years ago. Like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I just kept getting asked, hey, would you manage the landscape side of the project? And I would be hiring subcontractors and just sort of managing it as the GC. And then eventually, like, I had a bunch of guys that would do retaining walls and things for me on the side. And so we started taking over little bits and pieces of it. And by the last few years, I was doing almost 100% of the landscape with my guys.
So these guys aren't working on the home building side of things, they're strictly landscape.
There's about 15 guys on the landscape side, and we do about 100% in-house on all landscape division stuff.
So what do you have going on out here?
So just it's a monster backyard, huge grass area, as you can see.
Yeah.
The part of the project that's not really visible, but we had to bring in like, I think it's somewhere around 500-600 yards of dirt.
Of import to get this
import.
up.
Yeah, because these retaining walls are all new. This used to sort of slope down and be about 10 feet down there. So we built these retaining walls and then filled and then graded.
You did that to ultimately maximize the backyard space.
Yeah, they wanted just the biggest expanse of grass they could get.
So we've got over here this deck area. What's going on out here?
So large sort of outdoor kitchen, outdoor living space. Pretty obvious where those are, the huge island. And then next to that, which is that we sort of divided the spaces by the grass seam, as you can see.
Yeah.
That middle section is going to be the outdoor dining, so it's going to be a large outdoor dining table there. And then this, we did a raised synthetic decking, and that's going to be, there's going to be chairs, movable chairs around the fire.
Little entertainment area out there.
Second entertainment area, and then obviously just big expanse of grass.
I see we got Dobie's rebar up here. What's the plan here?
So sport court. So there's going to be
Basketball
a basketball
court.
court, and they may put like a pickleball net and use it as pickleball. So sport court, basketball court. And then, as you can see, the glass railing out there, that's what we call our lookout tower.
That little spot's
our
awesome.
little
I'm
lookout
sure the sun looks awesome when you can actually see it. We're about to get some rain.
The view
here.
is crazy out here, though.
We were out and about checking out projects. Meanwhile, back at Dagan's personal property, the rain has started. Having the ability to dry in a home in the framing phase is a huge pro when it comes to building. There's no waiting around for a roofing or siding contractor to dry in your project. You can do it as soon as the nailing's signed off. After we checked out the landscaping project, we went over to Dagan's warehouse where he keeps all of his imported goods from South America. He has a huge variety of stuff that can be used in an indoor or outdoor setting. I lounged around for a while, checked out the hammocks that he's got and more. But I wanted to give a huge thanks to Dagan and his team for opening up and letting us in, seeing how everything is done behind the scenes, talking to him about his projects, his building, and more. This closes out episode 1 of On the Road, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the series so far. We have a lot of amazing trips planned, and episode 2 takes us right to Huntington Beach. They have a design build competition down there to see what high school can put together the best 96 square foot structure. We'll be out there checking it out, talking with students and more. If you want to follow Dagan on any social media platforms, you can find all of his links in the description. And once again, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors that make this possible. My name is Matt Pinello with Matt Bangs Wood, and I'll see you guys next time when we're on the road.
Next generation, if you could tell them one thing, what would it be?
Work hard, stay focused. This industry is not easy, but if you stick with it, it can be really promising and rewarding. So, stick at it and work hard.